What is something from the 2000's that desperately needs a comeback in the 2020s, and why? Sidekick phone. I can afford one now. My parents can't say no anymore. Might be more 90s, but it was still around in the 2000's. But see-through casing for our technology. See-through phones. Game Boys. Computers. They were the shit. Rent prices. Being anonymous online. Back in the day you wouldn't put any personal information out there. Now, a friend of mine is back in the dating game after 20 years and he has been told multiple times it's a red flag that he has no social media. All just seems backwards and crazy to me. Other than Reddit, I have no social media. It started as needing to delete any and all social media I had so my ex could not find me, but now I much prefer not having any other social media. I've also never used my real name online, so if someone wanted to search for me, they'd have no luck. People always think it's weird when you do not have social media. I also do not have a smartphone either, which is seen as weirder than no having social media. There's a dude at my work who has no cell phone whatsoever. Nobody, including myself, can wrap their heads around the fact he is living like it's 1992. In a way, I'm jealous of the fact he is unreachable at any given moment. But I'm also perplexed and do not understand how he can function. Like having map books in your car. The concept is bizarre. Internet privacy speaks for itself, I think. Phones with slide-out keyboards. I could type so ducking fast on those without looking at the keys. I really miss the Wild West feeling of the internet and how it felt like it was full of people's personal passion projects. Shitty garish websites all about their hobby or niche interest. We weren't ruled by online life or connectivity, but you did have the advantage of being reachable if needed. Mobiles were great once we persuaded elderly relatives to get one in case they had a fall, but no one was on them all the time because we weren't really using them to access the internet, and the internet was something you connected to and disconnected from, and wasn't as central to our lives or as commercialized as now. But it was comprehensive enough that we already had the information superhighway where you could find out so much information. I actually liked some of the fashion too, and it just felt more fun than serious. The early 2000s were a positive era. As someone else said, it felt like the only way to go was up. I'm not American. Agree. And I do sometimes miss these old internet times. The internet just wasn't relevant to real life at all. No one asked what social media you used. No one really talked about the internet. It was very rare because it just didn't matter. But if you wanted to connect with a friend via the internet on some website because you shared the same hobby, it wasn't a problem either. And most of the time it was a fun, light-hearted, nerdy, niche thing where you'd just have fun and that was it. I miss that nerdy laid-back let's just have fun attitude that was so prevalent back then. Heelys. I wasn't allowed to have them as a kid, so I'd love to normalize it as a method of travel as opposed to something like hoverboards. Especially since you don't have to figure out where to put them. When you reach your destination they just be chillin' in your shoes. Also, entirely human powered, no electricity, so much better environmental footprint. Just the energy of the early 2000s. I do not know why, but it seemed like back then we had a lot more people and companies with a because we can attitude. As a South African I feel this especially hard. The early 2000s were such a positive time here. Democracy was still young, and it felt like the country was really starting to find itself. There was a lot of uncomfortable history to confront, but at the same time there really was a kind of nationwide push to unite and forge a new identity. That all fell apart around 2010, and since then it's just been a long, slow slog of worsening corruption and economic decline. So many people are leaving. Crime is off the charts. And it feels like everyone is at each other's throats nowadays. Racial reconciliation is starting to feel more and more like a pipe dream. I did give anything to go back to those days when it felt like the only way to go was up. Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks cereal straws. The convenience of decreasing plastic waste with a tasty snack is what this earth needs. ThinkPads used to have multiple texture options for the track point, i.e. the nipple. The default one is too pointy and makes my finger go numb. but the soft one was great. The current thinner keyboards only have a single default track point texture, and it means I cannot use it for an extended period of time. House prices. The housing market in 2020s is way too pricey, and renting is no longer a viable option, because those prices raise too. Pop punk. It seems like every emo and pop punk band from 2005 have turned into electronic pop artist. I miss the days when you could actually hear a guitar on the radio. Old school phones like the sidekicks. Back in the day, phone designs were very creative and fun. Now they literally all look the same. There's no character to them anymore. I'm always blown away when I hear people ask what phone is that. If it mattered at this point you would not need to ask. It's the featureless slab whose only improvement over featureless slab N1 is an artificially gated newer version of an operating system that didn't need to change, and a better camera. Rollerblading. I remember I stopped watching those games once they removed blading. Skiing is the closest thing to it still popular these days. It's just so smooth and stylish, and I feel like it needs a fair shake so people can see how far it has come. It can definitely hold its own next to skateboarding and BMX. When I was a kid I had shoes rollerblades that came with removable wheels. I live in a metropolitan city these days and use public transport. I do not have a car. No joke, having those kinds of shoes would save me hours and hours every week. During my commute I have 4 10-minute walks in a day, and the grocery store is about 15 minutes from my house, so half an hour there and back. 45, 200 for my commute. Going to the shop once a week is another 30, so that's nearly 4 hours of walking each week. Great for my health, but I did be able to free up like 3 hours if I had my old trusty rollerblades again. I mean, you can still buy rollerblades, but the wheels either do not come off, or the system is difficult enough that it negates any time gained from it. System of a Down. There is so much social and political crap going on. I really want Serge and Darren to sing and scream about it in a simultaneously very serious and very silly way. Hanging out outside, just for no reason with mates. Like you legit just ring up your mates and hang out in any destination. No internet or smartphones. Genuinely being in the moment, creating your own fun. Somehow going out for no reason than just seeing your mates and creating a good day was more enjoyable. Feel like everyone needs a why just to see you now, or they sit on their phone with the conversational skills of a brick. The internet. Less people. Less marketing. Less data. Give me back the golden days, please. VHS. Granted, it is older than the 2000s and it is crap compared to everything now, but vinyl came back for the nostalgia, and damn it, I miss that plastic VHS case scent, and that soft barely fuzzy picture it gave you. That and watching the tape rewind in the rewind machine. I will argue that gaming was much more interesting in the 2000s. Maybe because I was a kid and it was very exciting to play games for the first times. Maybe because I personally liked the graphics better, or because there wasn't endless essential DLCs everywhere. It might also have something to do with the fact that I'm a fan of SimCity 3000 and Sid Meier's, and SimCity 2013 was shit. It's probably a taste thing though. I wanna see people dancing the tectonic in the streets again. I was too young to remember when it happened, but ducking heck did it looks like an experience. The ability to be redeemed or forgiven used to be that you could say something dumb, and if you come out and admitted it, apologized, were in timeout for a bit, you could be forgiven and could make a comeback. Now there is no recognition that people can and do change with time. I miss when workplaces recognize the separation of work and home life. As in, if I posted a dumb video of me trying to do a kickflip on a skateboard, my workplace won't try to take action against me for doing so. I agree with workplaces getting involved on some level, but ultimately, just stop stalking the crap out of me. Flip phones. Sometimes you just want a phone that neatly cradles in your hand, not a monster brick that gives you RSI from one use. Ducking giving a shit about science and education. I'm talking even at the level of kids TV shows and cable networks. Mr. Wizard Beakman's World. And then Bill Nye the Science Guy shaped so many young minds into understanding science and critical thinking. And we have not had another show like that in over 20 years. Bill Nye the Science Guy was created by Disney and funded by the National Science Foundation. The Magic School Bus taught me more biology than what a lot of kids today do not see again until late middle school. The Discovery Channel, History Channel, National Geographic. The Science Channel used to show programs that were actually focused on educating people. None of it was reality TV. Speculative anti-scientific conspiracy theory bullshit or alien and ghost hunters. For a while we had single programs like The Universe or Planet Earth. But today if you truly want something scientific you have to go to BBC, which typically isn't available in the USA anyways. Not to mention, the Science Channel and National Geographic and some of the others may not be available with basic TV programs. If you wanted to watch those at all you have to pay a ducking premium through your TV provider. We are at the point now in the USA that we've experienced several decades of exhaustive anti-science and anti-education campaigns, and now seemingly half the population of the country does not understand that covering your mouth stops germs from spreading during a deadly global pandemic, and they are afraid of windmills and cell phone towers. The overwhelming societal feeling of optimism and excitement. We had a sweet 20 months of that in the US between the Y2K but not being a problem and 9/11. I've never truly felt like the future looked bright since. A bachelor's degree that costs less than 15,000. Stores that specialized in things. I miss the specialized craft stores. Now you have to go to the big craft stores that may have a few generalized items, but in order to get the good stuff you have to go online, and well that does not really cut it for me. I like to browse and touch things before I buy them. Duck Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and Joan Fabric for destroying the heart of the US. Privacy, and not everything being about commercialism. Oh, and people keeping their politics to themselves because they are embarrassed by their own opinions, as it was not as easy to find an echo chamber as it is today. That was nice not having to hear all that. While we are at it, let's bring back competence. I like that. The music. It was wild, fun, and absolutely banger. Not that there is anything wrong with current music. I do not want to replace that. I just want more 2000's jams. Cargo pants. I miss the military style pants that were the shit for a few years. Cheap gas. My Volvo is American apparently. Less tanning. Was way less used and nobody was chomping down hamburgers to get the Minaj fat ass. Now everyone looks like fat leather couches. Less botox would be very welcome too. I was watching Endeavor the other day and the number of 1960s women with ducked up lips from that crap really gave the character an off feel. More like a thought look. Darkstalkers. Holy crap. The last thing they did was Darkstalkers Resurrection, which was like the third re-release of the same game that generation. And when people didn't buy it, which BTW, they did. Just not the ridiculous numbers the devs were hoping. Capcom decided nah, we lines just do Street Fighter and Marvel vs Capcom for 10 years. We don't have to put effort into those for them to sell well. Spoilers, turns out they had to put effort into those for them to sell well. All the Fantastic Free were in personal editions. Things that didn't need a cloud. There used to be so many great apps and programs that filled gaps left by major developers that priced out the hobbyist or someone who only occasionally needed the functions provided. GIMP is one example that stuck around. I have CDs full of old software that just isn't really relevant anymore. But it was always great to know that I could find someone who saw a need and coded something to fill that gap. No registration, no time limit, just functional goodness that did exactly what you needed. Some major developers would release limited versions of their software that didn't have full functionality or limited output, but it was still a valuable tool for a hobbyist. Most of those are gone too. Now you don't own your own software or the storage it is on. They control and can shut down support for your software and the server its registration is tied to, along with the cloud that your stuff is saved to. Everything is subscription based now, so they are constantly taking money. Now everything requires registration, credit card info, or wants to know ever about you. You don't own your software and they can shut it down when they decide it's more profitable to sell you a new version, all the while taking your money as a subscription to the stuff you already bought. Piracy. People think that they are cool paying for everything because it's so easy to access. Then the laws of intellectual property comes back to bite them in the ass when they realize they have to pay 6 different services to have what they want. It's okay. I'm sharing my account with 9 friends and then nothing changes because why would corporation care as long as you pay them? I wish I could calculate all the money I saved by not giving a monthly subscription to 12 different services. It's probably a lot. The minimal reliance on texting. I miss when people just called each other to catch up even for 10 minutes. I feel so much more disconnected to friends and family now that we text all the time. I sometimes go a whole year without hearing a friend's voice. Although, now that I think about it, I might just miss being a teenager and this is what adulthood was like back then too. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.